The day my husband looked me in the eyes and said, "I only needed you to care for my mother when she was sick," my entire world shattered in a single heartbeat. But what happened after he threw me out of the house would reveal a truth neither of us could have imagined. I stood frozen in the living room, unable to process the cruelty in his voice. For 7 years I had called him my husband. For 7 years I had believed we were building a life together. I had loved him through financial struggles, sleepless nights, and endless sacrifices. Most importantly, I had devoted myself to caring for his mother when a devastating illness left her unable to walk, eat properly, or even recognize her surroundings some days. His mother, Margaret, had become like family to me. While everyone else slowly disappeared from her life, I stayed. I fed her, bathed her, sat beside her hospital bed, and held her trembling hands during the darkest nights. There were moments when I barely slept more than 3 hours. There were birthdays I missed, opportunities one sacrificed, and dreams I postponed because she needed me. And now my husband, Daniel, stood before me as if none of it mattered. "You heard me," he said coldly. "Mother is recovering now. I don't need you anymore." The words struck harder than any slap. I searched his face for a sign of regret, a hint that this was some horrible joke. Instead, I saw indifference. "Daniel," I whispered. "What are you saying?" He crossed his arms. "I married you because I needed someone responsible. Someone who would take care of Mother. You served your purpose." My knees nearly gave out. Served your purpose. The phrase echoed through my mind like a nightmare. Then I noticed another woman standing in the doorway. Young. Beautiful. Smiling. She wasn't even trying to hide her satisfaction. My stomach dropped. Suddenly everything made sense. The late-night business trips. The secretive phone calls. The growing distance. The sudden criticism over every small thing. Daniel had already moved on. I was simply the obstacle he wanted removed. "You can't be serious," I said. "I am." "After everything I've done?" "Yes." The answer came so quickly it felt rehearsed. Then he walked upstairs and returned with a suitcase. My suitcase. He placed it beside the door. "Leave." I stared at him. 7 years reduced to a single command. Leave. No gratitude. No apology. No humanity. Just leave. As tears blurred my vision, I picked up the suitcase and walked out. The door slammed behind me. And with that sound, the life I knew ended. I spent the next few days sleeping in a cheap motel on the edge of town. I cried until there were no tears left. Every memory felt poisoned. The hardest part wasn't losing Daniel. It was losing Margaret. I worried about her constantly. Who would care for her now? Who would make sure she took her medication? Who would sit with her when she felt afraid? I missed her more than I missed my husband. 3 days later my phone rang. The caller ID displayed an unfamiliar number. I almost ignored it. Something told me to answer. "Hello?" A weak voice replied. "Emily?" My heart stopped. "Margaret?" She sounded exhausted. "Can you come see me?" "Of course." I didn't hesitate. An hour later I arrived at the house. Daniel's expensive car wasn't there. Neither was the young woman. When Margaret saw me, tears filled her eyes. "My dear girl." She reached for my hand. I held it gently. "What happened?" I asked. She looked away. "Daniel told me everything." My chest tightened. "Then you know he doesn't want me here." She squeezed my fingers. "No. I know what he told you." For several moments she remained silent. Then she said something that changed everything. "I heard him." "Heard what?" "The day he threw you out." I stared at her. You were listening? She nodded. Every word. A tear rolled down her cheek. Emily, I have never been more ashamed of my son. The room fell silent. Margaret looked heartbroken. He thinks I didn't understand what was happening these past years. But I did. She swallowed hard. I saw every sacrifice you made. My eyes filled with tears. You treated me like your own mother. Because she was right. I had. Margaret reached toward a drawer beside her bed. She removed a thick envelope. Take this. I frowned. What is it? Open it. Inside were legal documents. Property records. Bank statements. And a letter. I looked up in confusion. Margaret smiled sadly. 3 years ago, after my diagnosis, I changed my will. My breath caught. Why? Because I knew who truly cared for me. I slowly examined the documents. Then I saw it. The house. The investment accounts. The savings. Everything. My name appeared as the primary beneficiary. I was speechless. Margaret. She raised a hand. Daniel has no idea. The room seemed to spin. I can't accept this. Yes, you can. No. Emily. Her voice became surprisingly firm. You earned it. I shook my head repeatedly. I didn't help you for money. I know. That's why you deserve it. The words left me unable to speak. Margaret smiled softly. Real love reveals itself during difficult times. Over the next few weeks I visited her daily. Daniel remained distant. He rarely came home. When he did, he acted annoyed by his mother's presence. The young woman visited often. She seemed more interested in Daniel's lifestyle than anything else. One afternoon I arrived unexpectedly and overheard an argument. Why are we spending so much money on nurses? The woman complained. Because mother needs care. She'll be fine. The selfishness in her voice made my stomach turn. For the first time, Daniel looked uncomfortable. Because deep down, he knew the truth. Nobody cared for Margaret the way I had. Nobody. Months passed. Margaret's health declined. I stayed beside her through every difficult day. One evening she asked me to sit closer. I don't have much time left. Tears filled my eyes immediately. Don't say that. She smiled. We both know it's true. I held her hand. Thank you. For what? For giving me a daughter when life never gave me one. The words broke something inside me. I cried openly. So did she. A week later, Margaret passed away peacefully in her sleep. The funeral was beautiful. Many people attended. Few knew the truth about her final years. Few knew who had actually cared for her. After the service, Daniel approached me. For the first time since our separation, he looked uncertain. Thank you for everything you did for Mother. I stared at him. The gratitude came far too late. I simply nodded and walked away. 2 weeks later the attorney called everyone together for the reading of Margaret's will. Daniel sat confidently beside his girlfriend. He clearly believed everything would belong to him. After all, he was her only son. The attorney began reading. Minutes passed. Then came the moment. The room fell silent. The attorney announced that Margaret's primary residence, savings, investments, and personal assets would be inherited by me. Emily Carter. The daughter-in-law who had cared for her when nobody else would. Daniel's face lost all color. What? The attorney continued. The decision was final. Legally binding. Unchangeable. His girlfriend looked horrified. This has to be a mistake. It is not, the attorney replied. Daniel jumped to his feet. She manipulated my mother. The attorney calmly produced letters Margaret had written over several years explaining exactly why she made her decision. Each letter described my sacrifices, my kindness, my loyalty, and Daniel's neglect. There was no argument left to make. The evidence was overwhelming. For the first time in his life, Daniel was forced to face the consequences of his actions. Days later he appeared at my apartment. He looked desperate. I made a mistake. I remained silent. Please. No. Emily, we can fix this. I almost laughed. Fix this? After everything? You told me I served my purpose. His face fell. I didn't mean it. Yes, you did. He lowered his head. I was wrong. Very wrong. Tears filled his eyes. But I felt nothing. The woman who had once loved him no longer existed. She had died the day he threw her out. I forgive you, I said quietly. Hope appeared in his expression. Then I continued. But I will never return to you. The hope vanished. And for the first time, he understood what true loss felt like. Years later, I would often think about Margaret. Not about the inheritance. Not about the house. Not about the money. I remembered her laughter. Her courage. Her kindness. Most of all, I remembered the lesson she left behind. People may use you. They may betray you. They may discard you when they believe you are no longer useful. But character always reveals itself in the end. Daniel thought he was throwing away a woman whose purpose had ended. Instead, he threw away the only person who had ever truly loved his family. And while he lost everything that mattered, I gained something far more valuable than wealth. I discovered my worth. The moment he slammed that door behind me, I thought my life was over. In reality, it was only beginning.